Hey guys, Casey Santana here with Rich Soil Podcast. We have another guest for our show, and today we have a special person. I had the pleasure of meeting her at a recent, I want to say that it was like a holiday farmers market. It was a pop-up. And I always like to see if there's anybody there representing the cannabis industry. And I saw your tent and I was so excited that it was a woman running it. And so Megan, welcome. Thank you so much for your time and coming on with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of where you're from.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Megan Bang. I am a nurse. I'm a cannabis nurse educator. So that means that I teach people how to use cannabis as medicine. I teach patients, I teach healthcare workers, dispensary staff, how cannabis works in the body to help manage symptoms. So I have the education side of my business that I started, and then I also have a product line that I launched that's all hemp products that are specially formulated for different issues. In addition to that, I'm in graduate school working towards a Master's of Science in Medical Cannabis Therapeutics. And I create educational content on social media, for people to learn about cannabis and, disseminate all of the
Wow.
information.
Are you a mom?
Yes, I'm a mom. I have two boys,
Perfect.
almost 4 and 7. So, yeah,
Wow.
it's fun.
I have to ask only because we like to represent the women in the industry, but I also like to highlight the moms like myself. Many of us are juggling so many different things, and I think cannabis helps us be that type of mom. So tell us a little bit about your morning routine and what is a must have for you.
Yeah. Okay, so I know this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but I actually don't use cannabis regularly. Illness, so I am a recreational user. I'm that use consume after a long week or after a long day. But because I don't suffer from chronic illness, I don't like it. It makes me tired when I use cannabis during the day. So use terpenes. I like to use terpenes that are in tea. I love my morning tea. That is definitely a non-negotiable for me. Um, you know, Other ways that people can boost their endocannabinoid system without the plant is like exercise, and that's like my thing also. I can feel like a boost in my own endocannabinoids after working out, and I really like the high that I get from that. Um, so yeah, I would have to say for me, it's my tea.
I'm guessing the tea that you have,
Yeah.
you're putting those terpenes that you had explained a little bit earlier, and I'm guessing you have maybe a particular brand that you like, preferably, or anything like that that you lean on more.
Right. Well, I mean, the terpenes that already come in, like the botanicals that are in the tea already.
Oh, gotcha.
Um,
The
we
natural
are
hemp.
just about to launch. Yeah, yeah, the natural ones. We are just about to launch a botanical CBD infused tea in a couple of weeks that we're really excited about.
So you have a tea that's coming out. I think I'm
Mhm.
excited for that because that's something that I like to take at night, something to help me relax and calm down. Especially for myself, if I had a very busy day or a hectic day as a mom, like you said. For me, I do consume cannabis every day. I am starting to want to journal or lean in on more of a intentional type of consuming, to where I'm really gonna like harness down, okay, the terp profiles in this particular flower were these. What am I leaning on more? How does this one make me feel when this had a higher level of like caryophyllene or myrcene? But yeah, that's very interesting. I think the tea gives it a like a different reach of audience because it's just like people who do yoga would like it, moms will like
Yeah.
it, the younger generation who's really into the vibey spiritual side. So I think teas are great. Tell us a little bit who may be a mentor to you.
Yeah. So my mentor, her name is Jana Champagne, and she's a cannabis nurse educator as well, but she's been doing it a lot longer than I have. Um, and she specializes in autism. So she's kind of like my go-to person whenever I have a patient that, I'm kind of stuck on, like, what do we do? How do we manage this? She's my go-to person. She also introduced me to like the difference between extraction methods and why they matter in CBD and in cannabis in general, and kind of show me the difference of like a whole plant product versus something that's not whole plant. So our CBD products are now whole plant, meaning they're more effective at a lower dose because they still maintain, the cannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes, chlorophylls, all of the good parts of the plant. So they're going to be more effective at a lower dose.
I find this interesting. Cannabis has only been part of your life for 2 years, you said? Is that just consuming wise or just
Yes,
yes?
yes.
Okay, so
Oh, okay. So
tell
yeah,
us
go
that.
ahead.
Tell us a little bit about. For me, that's really interesting because I come from one. I'm born and raised here in California,
Mhm.
from LA to Inland Empire. So weed, herb, however you want to call it, has been very much part of my life. I've experienced the trap house life. Um, it's just been, probably recreational for the most part. And then as I've gotten older and become a mom, it's become more of like, okay, this is really medicinal for me. Like I actually see it as a
Yeah, yeah.
supplement, coming with my background in nutrition and bodybuilding. That's exactly how I see it. So for people who are like yourself, who I meet, who are just tapping into it, tell us what brought you to us, what brought you to the community, what made you curious. Do you have family, that was part of their lives, because sometimes that's what it is. And then, you get to a stage in your life where you're a little bit open-minded and you see it differently, or there's enough education around you that you decided to really take control of yourself and see how you can use your voice on your own. So tell us how you came to the cannabis industry.
Yeah. So a nurse for the last 10 years, and especially a travel nurse, where we are subject to a urine test every new assignment. So every 3 months, or every new job, we have to take a urine test. So when, you know, just being in the healthcare industry, it was like, wasn't even an option to consider, or to like, and it wasn't, if patients ever brought it up, we're like, yeah, okay, that's kind of boo boo. There's not enough evidence for it. And we just, would ignore it. Then I started getting curious a couple of years ago, when I was like, okay, I don't really care about the urine test anymore. Like, if my job wants to fire me, this is like mid COVID also. So I had my first joint with my mom actually, and then I took like three too big of a hit, and then ended up wanting to throw up later on in the night because she thought I had
Swallowed some,
consumed.
just a little bit. I always say if you feel like
Right.
throwing up, you swallow just a little bit. It just went down the wrong hole.
Right, right. And she thought I had consumed regularly and was really surprised that like
Oh no.
I was just a baby. So there was no guidance. Um, so then then working in hospice, I had this patient who was having seizures, and she was just resistant to 4 or 5 different seizure medications that we had her on. And I was like, okay, I know CBD and cannabis are supposed to work because I've read the headlines, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to dose. I don't know anything, about that. Um, and there was no local resource that knows like both the medical side and the cannabis side. And it was really hard to find somebody like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be that local resource. So then from there, I jumped in the deep end. I started going to conferences. I went to like 6 medical cannabis conferences last year. I started grad school, webinars, like all of these educational programs, to be learn and teach myself about cannabis and how it works. And then I started this business, and here I am.
Does that mean you were not in California? I'm guessing.
I yes, I was in California.
You were this whole time.
But even being in California, like we're still subject to, yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, we moved here like 5 years ago.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I've been a nurse for 10 years.
Okay. Okay. So can I ask if you have any other colleagues that are nurses that are like, you're fucking crazy? Absolutely not.
Yes,
You do?
actually,
Oh, boo.
my nursing school crew, like the ride or die that go through nursing school, from 10 years ago, like we were there was a small group of us that were best friends for 10 years. And then I started doing this, and then they have since, just cut off all contact, and, you know,
Interesting.
because they don't think that it's like evidence based, or they don't think it's real or anything like that. So, um, but I have found a new tribe in the industry. So,
Yeah, it's a big industry. Tell us a little bit about some of the work you're doing because I feel like the work you're doing has a lot to do with one, your background, your professional background, having a degree, being a registered nurse. Is that correct? Or am I, is
mhm.
that okay?
Yeah.
Um, medically, I'm like, is that correct terms? Um, having that with your background and solidifying like, hey, this plant deserves a chance to be heard and a space in the same in Western society medicine, it doesn't have to be taboo anymore. And there's enough studies out there. There's enough women who are like, this is what helped me during my pregnancy. Like, I can't do Zoloft. I can't do these damn pharmaceuticals
Mhm,
that make me
mhm.
fucking sick or a zombie for all that matters. So tell me kind of like maybe what your experience is using now your professional background in cannabis and how you're kind of like elevating and educating people with that.
So it's really interesting. Like it's an interesting space to be in, because like the brand is called Trusted Canna Nurse, because I want to be that trusted professional. And our tagline is breaking the stigma through education. But so I get a ton of questions all the time, people asking for advice, and it's a fine line to walk between, like, okay, providing education, but also providing like evidence-based education. And because I can't give medical advice, I can't give dosing recommendations. I have to be really, really careful with the verbiage that I use in order to protect my license. I can't say, okay, you should start out with 30 milligrams of CBD and 1 milligram of THC. I have to word it in a way that's like, most people prefer to start with half of a dropper, and then they kind of go up from there according to how they're feeling and how that made them feel. Um, you know, and creating content on social media, I have to be really careful and use kind of vague language so that people don't say, oh, but you said this in that one video a month ago. You said this one little thing. So I have to be like, a lot of people prefer this instead of you should do this.
Yeah.
So I like, so along with that comes just like a great responsibility to be like really careful with the language that I use, that people don't think that I'm giving medical advice, that I'm just providing education on how the plant works and how it can possibly help them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a huge advocate for not really expressing myself as the guru, but more of like, hey, this is what works for me and this is my lifestyle. So I'm, big about showing you organic content and, as much time as I get, I try to get clips of me, at the gym getting a workout. So you see the overall, I'm a mom, I have a healthy lifestyle. We try to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But cannabis is so much part of our lives, and it doesn't make me a lazy person or a couch log person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very ambitious. I'm very driven. It's been always that type of drive for me. And so I think education is huge, and the way you're doing it is going to be very impactful with your background and being a woman and a mom. So triple threat, guys, watch out. Tell me a little bit about your products. You have some products under Trusted Canna Nurse, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about what you have going on in, I guess, the craftsmanship of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'll start out with our whole plant full spectrum products. And only 10% of CBD products meet like the criteria that our products meet, meaning they're flower derived, they're lab tested, organic, and whole plant. So they're extracted using food grade organic ethanol, so that method, preserves cannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes, all of the good stuff. So I have three different formulations of that. One is our relief, which is pain targeted, and then they also have added targeted terpenes too for the specific issue. So like this one has beta caryophyllene and humulene that help with like pain and inflammation. We have CBG, CBD plus CBG with beta caryophyllene, pinene, myrcene, and limonene. And a lot of people like this for gut health, CBG for their gut issues. And then we have our Tranquil, which is our anxiety targeted. Of course, I can't say anxiety. It's our stress targeted formulation that has a little bit of CBN, but linalool and myrcene in it. And then this is what a lot of my patients with autism start out on. And this one helps a lot of them, just to be calm without being sedated, and
Right.
helps with like the self-harm if that's an issue.
Do you
And
have
a really
any,
cool
I
thing that, oh, go ahead.
was going to say, do you have any, I guess, patients or people who take your products that have children that use it? Because I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, yeah, okay, yeah, that's been a big,
Yeah, yeah. So I have a lot of pediatric patients actually, um, in different states actually, that are using the different products.
Mhm.
So, and of course, like I don't sell to the children, I educate the parents, and then the parents make that decision, you
Yeah.
know, to give to their kids. But Tranquil, this one is the one that's, the anecdotes the stories that I have on this, that, the kids are just calm, and it's keeping them out of the hospital in crisis situations
Yeah.
type thing, because when a kid with autism is in crisis and the ER is the only option, which is traumatic,
Yeah.
because all they're going to do is give them medication to sedate them. So,
Right. Yeah. And
um,
that's if you're not a parent, watching your kid be sedated or even held down is not fun. So, yeah, I'm glad that your
right,
products are
right.
able to help other parents who have children that may be facing that, challenge.
With these ones, we offer like a 5 ml sample pack of
Oh,
each of these for people who want to, they want to just test them out to see which one works and how they work, before they invest in a full bottle. We offer that. We are mid-launch of a THCV line. So we have a THCV tincture and gummies. THCV
you
is
want to tell
helping a lot of
us?
people with diabetes.
Okay, I was like, yeah, you want to tell us a little bit about what THCV is because it's not something that most
Yeah.
people talk about.
Right. THCV is called tetrahydrocannabivarin. So that is just another cannabinoid, just like THC or CBD. The difference with this one is this one acts opposite of THC on our receptors. So THC turns on our appetite, THCV turns off the appetite. And studies are showing that THCV is helping people like manage blood sugar in diabetes, and it's like bringing down their blood sugar numbers. And then this is like when THCV is grown, it's also grown like THCV is grown with CBDV. It's the varin part of the plant, or cannabinoids. So this has THCV and CBDV. CBDV is helping people with seizures and autism as well.
Wow. But it sounds like you guys are really taking the time to extract the specific terpenes to create the formulas for each one of your tinctures. And each one of them are catered to um sounds like they're very specific. One can be for gut, which you don't hear too often.
Mm-hmm.
You hear just very general sleep, energy, or something like that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
gut is a huge one. I'm a huge fan of learning
Yeah.
about gut health. It's so crazy because recently I posted something about gut health awareness and Instagram did not like that. I found it strange.
Really?
Like it's the super healthy stuff that people aren't so aware of that I think it's not always talked about. And so I love that you do have one that's specifically to that, and then also the autism one. Is
Mm-hmm.
there anything specific like when you're picking your products or creating your products, do you get to experience like going to the cultivators and seeing the plants, like where they're coming from and how they're made? Or are you more at the end of the process to where you're like, okay, we picked all of this, or if it's more like, it just gets sent down and these are the terpenes we want out of these? Do you get to experience actually going out to farms or anything like that?
Not right now. I haven't been able to experience that, but I'm kind of more at the end of the process. But I do have a formulator that, I tell him what I want in a product, and then he will make that product. And for patients who if none of these are working for my patients, then I work with him and with my mentor to, help come up with a formulation that can help that patient. So then we'll do a custom formulation.
Awesome. Anything new for 2023? I know you are pretty active about being here in Inland Empire to the pop-ups and really representing the Trusted Canna Nurse booth there. And I think it's great that you have, your product there for them to see and sample, and then actually have pamphlets for them to educate themselves and maybe, reach out back to you personally. Anywhere else we can find you? Any events that you're going to be popping up into?
Let's see here. Well, for 2023, we're doing what I'm starting to do is, starting to reach out to, healthcare facilities to be able to provide education to the nurses on cannabis. And I'm accredited to offer continuing education credits to nurses. So that's going to be a big project for 2023, is like building out some courses for the nurses to take and earn credits and, spread the word that way. I'm headed to a conference that I'll be speaking at in May that's for senior living executives. So I'll be, addressing, cannabis use in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, because a lot of them are still, they're just going blind, and they don't have any sort of direction, on policies.
Yeah. I recently came across a article that talked about assisted living places considering cannabis, or a lot of their elderly folks interested in, a puff or
Hmm.
two. And I want to say I saw they went out to a facility and they did like a little bus and they took him to a dispensary, and
That's awesome.
they did, quick little interviews, and a lot of them were saying it wasn't, more of a medicinal thing, and they were happy they were able to dab into it recreationally. What it was doing for them was letting them be in this light spirited, like, they have dances, they have bingo, they have all types of those
Hmm.
activities there. And instead of, sometimes they're lonely. And I think this gave them an opportunity to engage with others that were in the same assisted living center that actually were open to that. And it was so cute to see.
Hmm.
It was cute, and it was like really humbling to be like, okay, there's so much work that needs to be done in that area as well, because
Yes.
they're open to it as well. And I think a lot of us know, if we have any family members that are in assisted living, it's not always a graceful experience for them. Sometimes they're not happy they're there. And it's in their best interest usually, but sometimes it's a hard time for them. It's a hard transition.
Yeah.
And I know my grandma left this place a little bit unhappy being in her place. And I just hope sometimes, that they consider cannabis as medicine for these places, as a holistic
Hmm.
wellness type of product for them. So I'm glad you are out there and you're going to be a voice. I'm excited that you're coming from Inland Empire, maybe representing a bunch of us out here that
Yes.
I think is overlooked a lot of times. A lot of things go off in LA County, in San Diego. Riverside also is doing a kick-ass job, but San Bernardino County is in need of a lot of help, and having trusted
Right.
people like yourself and women like myself out there, I think is going to make a little bit of a dent. And I also want to talk about maybe your network. You primarily have a network of men and women. Would you say about 50-50 that you cater to?
Um, yeah, I would say that, okay, so that question, was it referring to like my patients or like my
Just network.
colleagues?
Yeah, just network all the way around, from business colleagues, anybody that you know, from your medical
Hmm.
profession, all the way to the cannabis industry.
Yeah. So I would say it's probably, I mean, I'd have to go back and think. I can tell you that I prefer to work with women, and that the only ones that I have had problems with were men, you know.
Yeah,
And I hate to say that, it's definitely true.
sure.
It's that, I think that the women in the cannabis space are phenomenal, and we are definitely humble and willing to like learn and support each other. I don't oftentimes get that vibe from a lot of men. And are you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
So the cannabis space on LinkedIn is like a whole nother level. So it's
Yeah.
it's really interesting that, there was one time on LinkedIn that I had posted a picture of this brand that had, they had like half naked pinup girls on their packaging. And so I had posted about that, and that like it's not necessary. Like objectifying us is just not necessary. And the men that came for me in those comments, um, was unbelievable. Like so many men just outed themselves in those comments.
Sometimes I'm baffled at some of the, direct messages or, the messages that I get in LinkedIn. Today, I'm just like, I'm not going to respond to the ones I don't want to respond to and then move on about my day. Or, you have the opportunity to accept and not accept people to engage with. And so at that point, that's where I'm at because the moment people start seeing that you're in the cannabis industry and you're a woman, sometimes I think and not just men. I think just it just depends on their personality and their demeanor as far as
Mhm.
their how they are as far as relationship wise. I'm not a transactional person. So for me, I don't project what I don't want back. And so I try to be like, hey, you have 5 minutes this week, we can chat and do something like this. I don't know how many times we've talked before we've gotten on here, and that's my thing. And if you're very quick or I'm seeing pricing right off the bat on the first message, I'm like, let's not talk right now because that's just not the type of people that I think I'm aligned with, or even have
Mhm.
the time to entertain as far as what they want to get from me. Because it's like, bro, you need to do
Mhm.
your own research for one. And I've embedded myself in this community because one, I've been a black sheep for a really long time for it, and two, I truly believe in it being
Mhm.
holistic and part of my spiritual wellness journey. And so not everybody understands that. And so I think, you just got to pick and choose and tell those men to, kick rocks if they need to and not really give a fuck, to be honest. That's where we're at. I love that you're able to cater to both though. Your product is able to provide benefits to both men and women and children. So that's great. And parents. Tell us where we can follow you and where we can
Mhm.
support your business.
So the website is trustedcannanurse.com. And then on all the socials, except for TikTok, because they cut me off permanently in the fall. But
You'll be back.
it's Trusted Canna Nurse on Facebook, on Instagram. Yeah, yeah. On LinkedIn and YouTube. And that's where I post all of the educational content. And interestingly, just last Wednesday, I had like a video on tolerance breaks like go super viral, like 4.5 million views. Um, and then,
Awesome.
my followers went from like 30,000 to over 110,000 now. So
Wow.
it's like
Oh
super
yeah.
interesting the amount of people out there wanting information on tolerance breaks.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty hot topic right now. I've seen it go around Instagram. Some people want it to, really are encouraging it. Some people don't think it makes
Mhm.
much of a difference to them. Again, I'm just a true believer in you got to do what's good for you. And if, you don't try something, you won't know. And so, hey, it doesn't hurt to try something. Okay, so we can find you on those LinkedIn. Are you on Instagram? Perfect. We hope to have you back sometime, with new things going on, maybe towards the
Yeah.
end of the year.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Megan. Have a good one.